And here we are. This is the Porch Black and Gold.
Yeah, it helps if our faces are up.
The Porch Black and Gold edition.
Not on the
Steelers
podcast.
post game. And we are live right after the Steelers game. And if you can't watch and you want to listen, you can just look at the comments. I dropped the comment. We are also live right now on Radio PGH. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. And I believe we are live on the Gram, but I can't seem to.
Are we?
Yeah, I can't seem to find us, to be honest with you. I don't.
That's a classic us.
I'd say not worth talking
We're there,
about.
but you can't find us.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, guys. If you're here, let us know you're here and drop a comment. What do you think about that first game? Of course, the Steelers win in Justin Fields' debut. 18-10. What did you guys think?
I like how you called it a Justin Fields debut.
Well, it was. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be.
But it really wasn't. I mean, he's only playing because Russ couldn't go.
Right.
But, I mean, he was the difference maker. I'll give him that. I mean, the fact that he can throw the ball deep and he can run on third down for first downs, that's all this offense really needs at this point.
Right.
And let's face it, Pickens had a really good game.
Yep. And if he doesn't turn the ball over, that's a good recipe for winning with a good defense.
Yeah, and I think last week I talked about the fact that if they won the turnover battle, they were going to win the game. I mean, that's a cliche, but it's very true.
Here we go.
It's very true. And we actually had a couple turnovers by Watt that were turned back.
Turned over.
I'm trying to sort out our Instagram situation here, so I'm sorry, guys.
Well, then let me pontificate about what happened.
Why don't you do your thing and we'll talk.
Why don't you check all your buttons over there, and if you need to mute yourself or you need to get off the camera for a little bit.
By the way, Lisa DePasquale Lewis says, "Here we go.
Here we go." That's right. Want to know?
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I thought that the defense wasn't as good as it is, but let's face it, that secondary was stellar today. Stellar Steelers in the secondary today, and just enough pass rush to, Cousins just doesn't look like he's got it anymore. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think combination. I think one, it is the Steelers have a very good defense. But at the same time, it's kind of like, which one is more of the, I would say the Steelers defense being good is more so than the Falcons offense not being as good as we thought they might be.
Right.
But at the same time, look, Cousins was very uncomfortable. He faced pressure all day. He had to rush. He rushed throws. There were even some turnovers, which were called back. So, they turned the ball over. Cousins wasn't comfortable. Bijan Robinson was, look, the guy's a good player, but he was mainly kept in check. If you keep him under 100 yards, you've done your job.
Right.
Look, Drake London, I don't know.
Invisible today.
I mean, I didn't see much of anything from Drake London. Steelers defense had a good game plan. They executed it perfectly, and the Steelers got just enough offense out of Fields and Pickens and some running from Najee.
Okay, so I got us back on the Gram Live, and if you're watching us on Instagram, thanks for being here. I want to remind everybody this is the Sports Porch Black and Gold podcast. Our usual night is Monday night at 7:30, right? At 7:30. We will be back tomorrow night with a little bit more of a recap. We'll hear some more information about the game and get some more opinions in there. And of course, we'll do our normal snack time with Trader Joe's and what we're watching and that kind of stuff. But this is our Steelers post-game show. It's our inaugural Steelers post-game show. We just sat in the studio and watched the game. We want to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys have to think about Justin Fields' performance since Russell Wilson couldn't play. How did the defense look? How did Najee look? I think, how did Pickens look? Let's go over some statistics first. Fields was 17-23 for 156 yards. More importantly, no interceptions. He fumbled that first snap, but other than that, didn't seem to have a whole problem. John Edberg chimes in and says Canada called a great game. I know why. I know why he's saying that, but really the thing is, well, we're going to talk about that because it was not a Matt Canada offense by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't think.
Najee Harris, 20 carries for 70 yards. Justin Fields himself, 14 carries for 57 yards. Cordarrelle Patterson, 4 for 13 yards. Jalen Warren, coming off that injury, kind of knew he was going to be used sparingly, 2 for 7. Pickens, 6 receptions for 87 yards with a long of 40. Almost blew it. We'll talk about that. Freiermuth, 4 for 27. Jalen, 2 for 13. Nobody else really had anything that mattered.
5 other guys with 1 catch.
My favorite receiver on the Steelers, Van Jefferson, he did have 1 catch for 1 yard. So with that, as far as on the defense, let's see. Fitzpatrick had 7 tackles, 6 solo. We'll just go down the highlights there. TJ Watt did have a sack. I'm having some issues with my monitor here. I don't know what's going on.
That's
and it's back. And Montravius Adams had a big sack. And who had our interception there? Jackson, right? I'm not seeing that down here. Dante Jackson and Deshaun Elliott each had an interception. Jackson returned his for 49 yards. And the big story of the game, of course, is Boswell, with 6 field goals, single-handedly won the game for the Steelers. So let's break it down first. Let's go with Justin Fields. How do you guys feel Fields played?
Well, we were just saying that we thought that Fields did make a difference. He made a difference with his legs.
Yep.
He made a difference with the long pass whenever they needed to, kind of get out of the regular routine funk that the Steelers offense likes to go in, which is run, pass, run, pass, run, pass.
That's old school, but go ahead. Yep.
But I mean, that's what they want to do. They want to establish the run so that they can pass. Every once in a while, Fields is not afraid to go back and just sling it deep. And Pickens was open. Let's face it. I mean, he looked really good. He's able to get open. And really that kind of made the difference. The big difference certainly were the 3 turnovers. I find it a little troubling that they had 3 turnovers and still only scored 18 points. That's not going to be something that's a recipe for winning games into the future.
Right.
Let's have a turnover differential of +3 and only win by 8.
Yeah, that's not that should not happen.
So they're going to have to still figure out some things on this offense, but today's offense was good enough, and it won't be good enough against better teams. I think what we found out was Kirk Cousins is not good enough, and it's probably good that they didn't go after him because he is a turnover machine. And maybe you can teach a dog new tricks. The one thing about Fields that everybody
The main issue that Fields has is turning the ball over, and he didn't turn the ball over in this game.
8 for 17 on 3rd down, by the way.
If you asked us, will the Steelers win? I would tell you a couple things. I would tell you and I did tell you last week when we made our predictions, I said, if the Steelers win the turnover battle, which they did defensively, and they also did offensively, not turning the ball over. And a lot of that comes down to Fields not turning the ball over.
Right.
So that was good.
Yes, I agree.
Now, look, I mean, I assume that Russell Wilson is going to be your starter next week because I still think, even though Justin Fields played a good game, they did not get in the end zone. So that sort of leads me to believe that Russell Wilson will get the start next week. But I will tell you that I think what we saw today is going to make some people question that. And that's what I think we are in store for. I think the quarterback controversy is right around the corner.
Angelo on Facebook chimes in and says, good game, a lot of work ahead, but positive vibes. I agree.
On, Angelo.
I agree. As far as Fields, good, bad, or indifferent, I call this a very positive game for Fields because, and I think I echo your sentiments. His feet served him well. There were a couple times where he could have taken a step a little sooner. There was one play we were talking about in the first half where I said he was trying to keep his eyes downfield like he was being coached. But in that instance, he probably should have taken off and run instead of taking that sack. He might have been able to avoid it.
Yeah,
who knows?
Right up the middle.
I do believe that Steelers Nation is going to, we've been conditioned for this for now. This is the third year in a row. This is going to cause a quarterback controversy.
Yeah,
you know it. You know it is. I mean,
I think that's okay in this case.
Well, here's the thing: the actual reason why there is a quarterback controversy. If Justin Fields was also 34 years old, it wouldn't be a controversy.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that Fields is so young and has so much unlimited potential and talent that it makes you think about, well, hey, we saw something good today. Should we keep going? Because he could be our quarterback of the future. Whereas with Russell Wilson, we're hoping to get 1 to 2 years out of him.
Well, and Tomlin this week is going to play that up.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's going to say, well, we're going to see what Wilson looks like this week. Right. Maybe he's not going to be ready. Maybe they want him to sit another week. Maybe his injury is that bad that he does need another week to sit. But that's not going to sit well with everybody because nobody believes anything Tomlin says anymore, especially when it comes to injuries. So I think that's going to be the problem. That the Steelers organization and especially Mike Tomlin is not just going to come out and say, shut up. Russell Wilson is our starting quarterback.
He's not.
Fields is just the backup. He is not going to come out and say that. So you're going to be able to just say whatever you want about him, and that's what that will contribute to what's going to happen this week with the quarterback position.
He's going to say we're going to have to look at the tape. We're going to have to evaluate. He's going to say, there's also a medical concern here. We're going to have to talk to the doctors.
Right.
So we're not really prepared to really even know what we're going to do until probably end of next week.
Right. And even at the beginning, earlier this morning, Russell Wilson was out there and everyone was like, oh, he's out on the field. But the people that know sports said he was out there with no trainers. When you're out there on the field and there are no trainers, that means the decision has already been made. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really good insight by some of the media who were covering that. Whenever you see a quarterback out there without any trainers and they're injured, that already means that they've been ruled out because there's nothing to evaluate when he gets out there. They've already decided that he's not going to play. And I think that's exactly, and it actually may have worked this week because who knows, maybe they make a defensive scheme to play against Russell Wilson and not against Justin Fields. And he was able to rush for,
possible
60 yards almost.
Who is the next game against?
It's Denver in Denver. So, Russell Wilson clearly wants to play in that game.
Yeah, he does.
And I'm sure Tomlin wants him to play in that game because, that's what he likes to do. Old teams, you have a little bit of an advantage.
Okay, so I just put a poll out there on our Twitter feed. Our Twitter basically is at the Sports Porch or at the Sports Porch 1. Should the Steelers continue to roll with Fields? Now, taking everything you guys have just said into account, give me your honest, quick opinion. Let's assume
should they or will they?
Let's assume that Wilson is ready to go for next week, just for all intents and purposes. Should they continue to roll with Fields right now?
No.
Okay, Schwaber.
No.
I say yes. And I'll tell you why. George Pickens, 6 receptions for 85 yards. Okay, that's not something that we would consider happening with Justin Fields right now. That connection. He's obviously, because he had a lot of first team reps due to Wilson's injury earlier, he obviously has a rhythm with Pickens. I would really like to see them, and we've complained about this for years now, and I'd like to stop complaining about it. I would like to see them figure out a way to start to move some of this passing game over the middle, because I think as the year goes on, we look at film from last year, we have different players, different OC. But if we're throwing those patterns, if we're throwing everybody on the outside, this is what the defenses are going to do. They're going to bump our receivers to the outside and keep them from catching the ball. We got to figure out a way to go over the inside. Now, I know Wilson is famous for not liking to throw in the middle. Fields has had his issues, but let's start figuring this out. They're NFL quarterbacks. Angelo says, I would start Wilson and see what he can do. We need touchdowns. Fields played well, but we need TDs. You know what, Angelo, as far as I'm concerned, I agree with you from the standpoint of I don't think anybody would disagree with you on that. But I think you go into the season here, and I was quite frankly very impressed with the way Fields handled himself. And I do think, and for anybody who's going to be a naysayer about, it's the offense now, that offense it was not exciting, but correct me if I'm wrong, guys, or if you disagree with me. It looked nothing like last year's offense.
Oh yeah, I disagree with you.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
Here's why.
Okay.
How many times did they still throw the ball behind the yard marker?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, quite a few.
Too many.
Right.
Too many.
Right.
And how many times did they throw the ball and it was short of the third down marker? Too many times still.
I don't know.
Like they cashed it in on that one third down play where it was 3rd and 17 and they just threw it 5 yards and didn't even try and make an attempt at doing that. Good teams, good playoff teams that want to be in the Super Bowl, look at that as a challenge and they still try and get that third down. Now, they don't have great quarterbacks like Mahomes could do that or Josh Allen could do that. And that's the problem. They just don't have the right personnel. I understand why they don't do it, but this is just the Steelers offense. They don't go for the jugular. They don't go for the end zone. They're okay with kicking 50-yard field goals.
Okay, so the doctor, your brother says, I think he agrees with you. Same Tomlin offense feels a better version of Pickett.
See, I disagree.
I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I'm with Chris on this one. I feel like it was a solid NFL coaching offensive game plan.
Yes.
I feel like they tried to run it up the middle. They tried to run it to both sides. I feel like they stretched the field to Pickens several times. Now, look, the one thing I will agree with is that, number one, they didn't go over the middle. And number two, they did not take risks on 3rd and longs. Okay, yeah. So I will agree with that. But at the same time,
Thank you, John.
But at the same time,
bless you, my son.
At the same time, I also do believe that is because of a lack of confidence from the coaching staff at this stage of the game.
Right.
They didn't want Justin Fields to force something.
Right.
Right.
I understand why they did it, but I just don't feel like this was a drastically different offense. Like it's still risk averse. It's still not throwing the ball over the middle, and it's still not taking chances.
Well, but
with a few exceptions.
But that may be different as the weeks move forward.
Well, it may be, but here's the problem. And here's the problem, by the way, with starting Justin Fields next week. I agree he's got good rapport with Pickens, right? Next week, they're going to have a guy named Patrick Surtain II in the secondary. Yeah. Guess who he's going to get? He's going to get Pickens.
Yeah.
So Justin Fields, who isn't really good with his progressions, got a great arm, but not really good with his progressions. Throw it here, throw it here, throw it here. He's going to be holding the ball more, which makes him more susceptible to getting sacked and not catching the secondary pass. I think Russell Wilson will be better at that. And I know we're jumping ahead to next week, but this is why I would not consider it a quarterback controversy, because you have a proven older commodity who can do that. And I think you'll need to do that against Denver.
I agree with that, though.
Yeah, I am still of the mindset. And so far in our Twitter poll, we have 8 votes. Should the Steelers continue to roll with Fields? 88% yes. 12% no.
Well, that just shows you're wrong, because Twitter's wrong most of the time.
And I was one of their no's.
Oh, really? Yeah, you said no, they shouldn't roll with Fields?
No, I don't think just yet. I don't think just yet. No, it all depends. Like if Russell Wilson is still even slightly injured, I would probably play Fields next week.
Right.
But if he's 100% healthy, I would have Russ play. But here's the other side to the coin. With what Fields did today, I also now have a shorter leash on Russell Wilson. Now, I'm not saying a shorter leash in terms of pulling him within game, but I'm saying, let's just say Russell Wilson takes over as quarterback and they lose the next 2 games and they're 1-2. I'm thinking about putting Justin Fields in.
Yeah, see, I
can understand where you're coming from.
Listen, going back to the quarterback issue on Atlanta, and I'm just going to bring this into my thought process on rolling with Fields for one more week. Okay, I don't think that Kirk Cousins, when you guys earlier in the show said, do you think Kirk Cousins is cooked? My feeling on that is no. I don't think we have enough tape on that yet. He is only the second quarterback since 2002 to come back from the Achilles tear that he had and start the next season. Trent Dilfer was the only one since then. Okay.
He didn't play well Aaron when Rodgers, he came back.
Aaron Rodgers will be.
Well, he'll be the third.
Yeah. Right.
He'll be the third.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm making,
he comes back.
The point I'm making is that Cousins is not done. This was actually a typical Cousins bad game. But moving forward, we kind of expected that. Next week we go into Denver. Who's the quarterback? Bo Nix. Okay, rookie.
I got to tell you though, for whatever reason, I have a feeling he's going to be decent.
Denver already has 3 points.
Yeah, and of course, Jeff Wilson might not be ready to go next weekend anyway. Yeah, we're assuming that if Wilson is ready, do you roll with him? Obviously, if he's not ready to go, then they're rolling with him. And yes, CD, we're going to get to the D right here, after I make this point. My point is next week you're going against a bad Denver team. So rolling with Fields, it's another set of circumstances where he has an opportunity to show what it is that he has and to improve upon the performance that he had today rather than cut him off now. He took the majority of the first team reps because of Wilson's injury. He had to come in and play this game because of Wilson's injury. Mm-hmm. He did not really have a chance to get in the end zone, although he could have. And they ended up winning the game because of the D, which is what we're going to talk about in 30 seconds. I think you roll with him no matter what at this point, because if he beats Denver, if he gets in the end zone, if he's able to get Freiermuth into the game and score a touchdown with Pickens, now you got something rolling and you're playing with the whole Schwaber thing. He's a younger guy. Then in my mind, it doesn't become a controversy. And look, you got Russell Wilson for nothing. So, let him sit, let him stew. All right, moving on. Yes, absolutely. We do have to talk about the defense. We have to talk about Jackson. We have to talk about Elliott. We have to talk about TJ Watt. We have to talk about Cam Hayward being back, Montravius Adams with a big sack. And what I'm putting up here now for those of you who are watching us live is the D wins the game. The D wins the game. Yes, Boswell kicked 6 field goals, right?
Yep. 6 field goals.
Yes, Fields played well. Yes, Pickens had a pretty decent game. We kept the ball out of their hands. We won the turnover battle, but our defense won this game. That's what I think. I mean, I think really our defense won this game. What do you guys think?
Well, I think the defense came out actually very sluggish. I thought Atlanta was able to run the ball against us pretty easily the first time down the field. And when they finally were able to make that stop before they had to kick the field goal, I thought that was a significant stop, because if Atlanta gets into the end zone there, then the Steelers are really playing behind the 8 ball, and they don't play well behind the 8 ball at all. And I think they got better as the game went on, which to me was the most important part. And let's face it, Joey Porter Jr. at this point is considered a shutdown corner. I don't care. When you can take Drake London, 2 catches for 15 yards, and he's a really good talent. And I get it. Maybe Cousins was a little uncomfortable in the pocket, but that's classic Steelers defense. You just make them uncomfortable in the pocket. You make them throw bad throws. You make them make their second receiver, in this case, Ray McLeod, which we know about.
Ray.
They turned him into a hero with 4 catches with 50 yards or whatever. But that was it. I mean, so that's a recipe for success for the Steelers defense. I do have to say, I was a little disappointed with Patrick Queen's play today.
Me too.
I thought that he was a little bit invisible. He wasn't bad. He wasn't getting blown off the ball. But he didn't make a lot of tackles. I think he only had 2 tackles the whole game. But I do have to say, I'm not a big fan of, by the way, I'm not a big fan of the Cam Hayward extension. I thought that was a terrible thing the Steelers did by signing him to some extra years, especially because he's 35. But he played well today, and so did Montrevious Adams when he came in and made that sack. So I think they need to get better at stopping the run early, because if they can do that, I don't know where offenses go against this defensive team.
A more curious character on Instagram, thanks for being here, says the D did win the game. Each team's offense was unable to finish drives consistently. Schwab, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought the defense looked very good. I mainly think that it was due to the pass rush. TJ Watt was basically unstoppable today.
Right.
You had push from the inside. You had push from the other side from Highsmith. And I think the secondary was very good today, but I actually would say I attribute it more to the defensive line and their rush. I'm not entirely sure, maybe against a better offensive line, if the defensive line of the Steelers doesn't do as much damage, are there going to be, are those throws going to be available to be picked off as much,
It's possible.
So, and, also better receivers, to be honest. I mean, Drake London, yeah, he's a first round receiver, but to me, he hasn't really proved anything yet. And, Kyle Pitts is kind of like a good tight end, but they don't have like 2 big time receivers.
Well, they did kind of have one blow up there when Bishop kind of left Pitts in the back of the end zone, back corner of the end zone, all alone. I don't know if that was a miscommunication or he just didn't understand his assignment, but I think it was the latter.
But he's also in there because Cam Sutton's not.
That's true, but he's going to be in there for 8 games. So he better pick that up, or that's going to be an easy TD for other teams all 8 games.
Yeah, that's that nickel package. They need to get that a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, I would reserve judgment a little bit on Patrick Queen because without looking at the tape, he may have been in his right lanes and sticking with his assignment instead of freelancing,
which is what he's known for.
Right. So, and if that's the case, it might just be part of the reason why, more run game yards weren't available.
Yeah, he had 2 tackles. 2 tackles. TJ Watt, 1 official sack, although he had 3 really.
Seemed like 3.
Yeah, he had one
penalties.
One official sack with 2 tackles for a loss, and Montrevious Adams had another sack with a tackle for a loss.
Well, TJ getting that fumble was big.
Yeah,
they had 4 Atlanta Falcons there, and he ends up with the ball because of his speed. I mean, just brilliant play by TJ.
I think this points to good things for the Steelers, honestly. I know, who Steve and I had them at 9-8. Those are our predictions. I'm the guy.
I had 10-7,
right? And I had them winning this game, and you guys each had them losing.
Right.
Not to, we'll talk about this.
I haven't changed my prediction for the year.
I'm not saying I'm changing my prediction. What I'm saying, though, is that it was good to see the defense playing well. And it was good to see Fields come in and manage the game right. Mm-hmm. And so for that, I would give us a victory on that one. I would say that, yes, this was a boring I wouldn't say it was the most boring game I've ever watched.
But the first half was pretty bad.
Yeah. But
10-9, wasn't it?
Well,
halftime.
But it's Steelers football. It's defense.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? If you appreciate defense, you appreciate the game.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate defense, but I like to see, a little bit more than what we were seeing in the first half.
One thing I do think is problematic for the Steelers that maybe we're not talking about enough is that it really does seem, look, I'm going to call Freiermuth an average tight end at this point.
I totally agree with you.
4 for 27 today, I think. He's
an average tight end. Look, he's a tight end who can catch the ball, but
right.
Look, he's no star or anything.
No.
And so when it comes to the passing game for the Steelers, we're getting on, Fields for not getting him in the end zone, but it's like it's Pickens or bust almost.
Yeah.
So that can kind of be a problem.
Yeah. And we've been saying this going into the season. Their receiving core is not good. And that's because they have one guy who's a go-to guy, and that's George Pickens.
And he's
after that,
and he's really good. But
he is good.
But like what Steve is saying is like next week he lines up with Patrick Surtain.
Right.
There's going to be several corners that they'll play over the course of this season
that are pretty good.
And he may have some good games against some of those guys.
Well, maybe the Steelers would go out and get Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Do you have any sources on this?
Other than I'm pretty sure he's not going to be a Las Vegas Raider all year long.
You think so? That would be something.
Actually, the rumors have him going to the Jets, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well,
shocker.
Reunite with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
By the way, in my loser suicide pool, I picked the Jets to lose on Monday night.
Did you?
Yeah,
you should have picked the Panthers.
Good thing you didn't pick.
Well, you got to save the locks for later. If you may, you know.
Good thing you didn't take the Patriots because they beat the Bungles. That's
I thought
right,
about
baby.
That. I was this close to picking the Patriots, but I thought I should save them for later as well.
Not good for squirrels, but good for the AFC North if you're a Steeler fan.
All right, guys, listen. You've been watching the Sports Porch Black and Gold Steelers post-game show. We're going to keep it to about 30 minutes because we will be back tomorrow night at our usual time, live all over the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll do a little more game analysis, and we'll do our usual hijinks.
Oh, right? Yeah. We always have hijinks. But I guess we're going to be remote, so I guess there'll be no Trader Joe's.
Well, we don't have to be remote. That's up to you guys. We'll talk about it after the show. But at this point,
are we? This is how we organize the show, folks.
Right. This is how organized.
Just in case you thought we were like professionals.
All right,
we make shit up as we go.
We do, and that's what makes it really fun. I do have a thanks from John on YouTube.
All right, John, come back Monday night.
Remember, you can catch the Sports Porch podcast also every Monday night.
Did you see? By the way, CD said Tomlin said that punter is a significant injury.
Yeah, that's bad.
That stinks.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. So
we can get our old punter back.
We're going to drop this podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get
your freaking podcast.
Absolutely. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Sports Porch Podcast on YouTube. And please subscribe to the podcast. I want to thank everybody for being here for our inaugural post-game Steelers analysis, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Steelers are 1-0.
They are 1-0.
Let's keep it rolling.
All right, boys. Let's do it.
Go root for Dallas.
8 more to the consecutive streak continuing winning records.
All right, listen. Go to our
16-0. Oh wait, you can get the 17 now.
These guys are too excited. Go to our Twitter page. Our Twitter page at the Sports Porch 1. I got a poll up there. Should the Steelers continue to roll with Fields? Yes or no? It's a real simple thing. Follow us on Twitter for more. And, of course, follow us all over the world. And, of course, here we go, says CD Stiller. Here we go. You're welcome, John. That's the news, and I am out of here. That's an old Dennis Miller quote from your TV HJ. We'll see you tomorrow.